In the early 1990s, Capcom's Street Fighter II was one seriously hot arcade phenomenon that spawned an entire empire of merchandise, including many imitators. Midway's 1992 arcade game Mortal Kombat just so happened to be one of the most popular ones. Just as Mortal Kombat emulated all that made Street Fighter II so successful, many other developers decided to try and emulate all that made Mortal Kombat so successful. Were any able to dethrone Mortal Kombat at its own game? Well, given that Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate, the 27th incarnation in the video game franchise, was released in 2020, followed by a third live-action film in 2021, and every other game on this list disappeared shortly after release, never to be heard from again, the proof is in the proverbial pudding. I'm Jess from WhatCulture, and here are 10 Mortal Kombat ripoffs you won't believe got made. Number 10. Thea Realm Fighters, High Voltage Software, 1996. In what can only be described as bad game overkill, the Atari Jaguar nearly received a third terrible Mortal Kombat clone in 1996 in Thea Realm Fighters. Thankfully, the plug on this one was pulled literally at the 0 hour, with the game having nearly been completed no less. Waning interest in both the console and the genre were the culprits. But what was Thea Realm Fighters? It looked a lot like Mortal Kombat 3, featured more than 25 playable characters, each one with 4 special moves and 2 finisher moves, and boasted a tournament mode which culminated in a match with Sir Raider, a powerful warrior from another dimension. In short, Mortal Kombat at its finest. Because merely emulating MK wasn't quite enough to drive home the point, High Voltage even managed to hire Philip Ahn, Shang Tsung from Mortal Kombat 2, and Catalin Zamiar, who voiced Jade, Katana, and Melina, to appear on the Thea Realm Fighters roster. In the end though, all the Mortal Kombat flattery in the world couldn't prevent this title from being scrapped, and perhaps the world was a better place for it. Number 9. The Kung Fu Master Jackie Chan, Kaneko, 1995. Mortal Kombat was busy working its way onto the big screen just as big screen action legend Jackie Chan was trying to steal away quarters in the arcade from Mortal Kombat. In terms of originality, the Kung Fu Master wasn't a carbon copy clone of Mortal Kombat, to its credit, even if a moment of hearing the announcing and character sound bites is enough to know exactly which game franchise it was emulating. It was criticized for having a minuscule roster of characters, originally leaving Jackie Chan himself to last boss detail. As a result, the game underwent several revisions nearly immediately upon release, even resulting in an entirely new name, Jackie Chan in Fists of Fire, Legend of Jackie Chan. Chan became a playable character. In fact, the player had the choice of using him in 3 different outfits, which still brought the grand total of playable characters only up to 9. Despite doing alright in arcades, it never received a home port. Number 8. Ultra Vortec, Atari, 1995. Ultra Vortec is one of those games where you could just glance at it and practically hear the voices of the developers sitting around a boardroom sometime in 1994 saying, "So let's see here. Doom is cool, kids like Doom. Also, Mortal Kombat is cool, kids like Mortal Kombat. Should we combine the two? This can't possibly miss." Though somehow it missed. The story follows 7 fighters as they enter a tournament held by the Guardian, protector of the ancient Ultra Vortec tablet that grants limitless power to the victor. The goal? To use the power of the tablet to save Earth from the power of the tablet. Yeah, we're not sure they thought this one all the way through either. The game plays just as you'd expect. Digitized characters, abundant digital blood, slow control, and lots of combos to learn. It even got a handheld port for the Atari Lynx. As much as we'd like to tell you it represented the Jaguar's single Mortal Kombat ripoff title, it was in fact only one of the 3 that were planned by 1996. Do you also get the feeling Atari, bummed about being unable to secure any of the actual Mortal Kombat licenses for its hardware, had a point to prove? Number 7. Street Fighter the Movie, Capcom, 1995. This is like something out of the film Inception without Christopher Nolan's ego. Street Fighter 2 inspired Mortal Kombat. Street Fighter the Movie is a game based on the movie based on the game. Only it was clearly inspired by Mortal Kombat instead. Confused? Don't worry, me too. All you need to know is Street Fighter the Movie digitized the film's actors and turned them into a dull, choppy one-on-one experience in arcades in 1995. And then on the Sega Saturn and Sony PlayStation, right when Mortal Kombat 3 was on top of the world. Strangely enough, Capcom opted to farm out development to Incredible Technologies, a company best known for arcade golf and bowling titles rather than doing it themselves. The game was quickly forgotten about, but left a bitter enough taste in the mouths of Street Fighter 2 fans to be generally excluded from the franchise's rich canonical history, instead becoming a sort of black sheep spin-off to the Capcom legacy. Number 6. Catfight, Atlantean Interactive, 1996. Okay, here's one you're gonna think we're making up to be funny, but we assure you Catfight is all too real. In 1996, American studio Phantom Cards slapped together an MK clone with an all-female roster, hence the title, and had it published by pornographic film company Vivid Entertainment under their Atlantean Interactive label for Windows. The most outrageous offense here being that the game contains no nudity whatsoever. What it does contain is a story whereby a dark entity named Shinma and 10 other female warriors compete in a tournament to become one of the most awesome women in the galaxy. See, we told you you'd think we were making this one up. While it passed on nudity, Catfight was very vocal about its inclusion of loads of violence and gore. It even managed to hire the talents of Mortal Kombat 2 actress Catalin Samia, again, to portray a female ninja named Chun-Li. No wait, Che-Li. It's earned the spot of worst game ever created by a myriad of publications throughout the years, and managed to inspire one of the funniest video game review quotes of all time, when PC Gamer said, being caught masturbating to it would actually be less embarrassing than being caught playing it. Number 5. Kasumi Ninja, Atari, 1994. Kasumi Ninja was the first of a proposed trilogy of Mortal Kombat clones for the Jaguar, the others being Ultra Vortec and Thea Realm Fighters. The trilogy stopped at 2, but suffice it to say, the damage was done. When yet another dark entity, yeah, they really keep coming, breaks the gate between our dimension and the underworld, would someone please put a better lock on that thing? The preeminent celestial select warriors to compete in a tournament to restore balance to the universe. We apologize if you've heard all this before. Evidently, part of MK cloning demands that your story be somewhat less intelligent with each iteration of the material. Known for such things as bad controls, difficult menu navigation, and unoriginality in every possible regard, Kasumi Ninja is perhaps best remembered for being the Mortal Kombat ripoff where the red-headed guy lifts his kilt and blows a fireball from his crotch. Number 4. Shadow War of Succession, Tribeca Digital Studios, 1994. If you think the Jag was hard up for a Mortal Kombat game in the 90s, Panasonic's 3DO was certainly in the runner-up spot. Shadow War of Succession was one of a pair of MK clones developed for the hardware in 1994. The gimmick with this one being that nobody else really seemed to be combining gangsters with fighting games. Hey, we're just glad a powerful interdimensional entity isn't holding a tournament to determine the fate of the universe this time. Sadly, critics claimed the controls were incredibly poor, and there was the ability to spam a single projectile over and over to beat the whole game, such that it wasn't just poor, it bordered on broken. Next Generation magazine went on to say, use the disc as a coaster for your coffee mug, you'll get more use out of it and enjoy it more. While it would be the last MK clone we get from Tribeca Digital Studios, it wouldn't be the last one for the 3DO. Number 3. Survival Arts, Sammy, 1993. In 1993, arcades got one of the earlier Mortal Kombat clones in Survival Arts. It was, of course, a near copy of MK, with the addition of another character on the roster, 8 in total, and the ability to grab and use weapons for additional gore. As far as stories go, this one just may be the most generic and thoughtless to date. The birthplace of the powerful physical martial arts called survival arts and how they were earned became mysterious for quite some time. However, 8 warriors spreading over different countries have learned some of the most important skills of the survival arts, while they continue learning more about them. Each one qualified for the survival arts tournament to see which survivor will win and obtain all the secrets of the arts. One gets the feeling either a young child was brought in to flesh out the backstory for this one, or the English translation might be missing some critical pieces. Taking the award for the most unintentional hilarity is a Will Ferrell wannabe in a bad wig that serves as the game's big boss. Dantel, organizer of the survival arts tournament, whose motivation is to, and we are not making this up, eat the flesh of the fallen opponents to remain immortal. We're not trying to suggest this one was forgettable, but do remember that in 1994, the fighting game craze on home consoles was at a fever pitch. Even still, the SNES and Sega Genesis ports of Survival Arts were canned shortly after the announcement. Ouch. Number 2. Way of the Warrior, Universal Interactive Studios, 1994. That the company behind such industry staples as Crash Bandicoot, The Last of Us, and Uncharted began console development with a notoriously bad Mortal Kombat clone for 3DO is proof that ours is a very forgiving industry. Or maybe just a very forgetful one. In any event, Way of the Warrior boasts the distinction of being the most popular MK clone on the 3DO platform, and we're not entirely sure that's a good thing. The game really doesn't bother with much of a story, instead explaining that players must use one of the world warriors guess Capcom's lawyers missed that part, in a fight to the death in order to be sealed back into, quote, the Book of Warriors. Surprisingly, the visuals and moves weren't criticized by journalists at the time. The same couldn't be said for the controls though. Still, it proved successful enough to where an arcade port was being developed in the exact opposite order of how things usually go with fighting games. Way of the Warrior came and went without much fanfare, but when a then bankrupt Naughty Dog showed their apartment-made project to Mark Cerny, yes, that Mark Cerny, he was impressed enough to sign the developers up to do 3 more games for Universal Interactive. Do you know what those were going to become? Crash Bandicoot, Crash Bandicoot 2, Cortex Strikes Back, and Crash Bandicoot Warped. Number 1. Tattoo Assassins, Data East, 1994. Alas, we come to the creme de la creme spot of Mortal Kombat, a game so dubious that despite being 100% complete, despite having been manufactured and even released to a few arcade locations, is still considered unreleased. Tattoo Assassins from the pinball division of Data East. It looked like Mortal Kombat, it played like Mortal Kombat, but what MK did with violence and gore, it took and ran with. You had your digitized blood, you had your skull-crushing combos, your ultra-violent finishes. But this remains one of the only MK rips with a woman who lifts her skirt, then proceeds to drown her opponent in a storm of diarrhea, or offers the ability to drop the DeLorean from Back to the Future upon a combatant's head. The game was reputed for boasting 2,196 finishing moves, including some nudity-based ones for the players with the quickest combo inputting. The fact that word of this game managed to circulate throughout arcades back in the 90s and its allure endures even to this very day suggests that unlike the other entries on this list, Tattoo Assassins may actually have offered enough craziness to gain true MK-like attention. Sadly, what heights or lows TA could have brought to the market were never realized when the project was scrapped just as it was about to take off. Its cult status remains though, and ROMs of the completed game have been released into the wild, for those whose curiosity must be satiated. Bonus fact, Tattoo Assassins boast the unimaginable distinction of having been written by Back to the Future's Bob Gale. That's the end of our list, but let me know down in that comment section if you can think of any other interesting Mortal Kombat ripoffs you can't believe were actually made. As always, I've been Jess from WhatCulture. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you like, you can come say hi to me on my Twitter account where I'm at Jess McDonald, but make sure you stay tuned to us here for plenty more great gaming lists. Thank you.